because this is the first 2 series, it's managed to make it through a couple of times here already. And that is the reason we're seeing this one again. But fear not, because throughout the entire course of the tournament, I keep track of how much every map's being played. Thunderbird will not be in the map selection for the rest of today, so it's not going to get any extra plays, for example, because it's about trying to make all of the maps be seen an even amount. And of course, basically, Thunderbird will not be available as an option again until we kind of see until we've kind of seen the other maps mostly getting played twice over as well. So just a little bit unlucky that in 2 series we managed to see it twice. Just the way of the world, guys. Literally just the way things work out sometimes. I actually put so much thought into this. I tell you guys this every time. Let me introduce the players first, and I'll tell you about it. Top left, Solar, our blue Zerg player, and the bottom right, the red Terran aLive. The map contest is always a very unique opportunity for me to kind of create a tournament, because it brings in some new problems to the tournament, as in, we have to make sure that maps get played a lot, we have to make sure maps get played evenly, so we have to come up with new formats, new veto systems and stuff, new ways to decide which maps are available for each series. So it creates a lot of extra challenges as a tournament organizer, which is actually very fun for me, because it's just like, oh, guys, show up, play some best of threes on the ladder maps, and we're all good, right? So yeah, kind of cool to see something a little bit different. And to kind of do something a bit different. So that's always a very fun thing for me. But it does just mean, again, unfortunately, sometimes little things like this slip through, and we see this map twice. So no worries, though. Again, like I said, we'll see all the others as well. And we are going to be seeing Black Baroque as our second map of this best of 2, as we have this SCV coming across towards the upper left-hand side. So SCV coming in towards the upper left here, and is just going to have a little bit of a scout around. Again, this map comes in, we just talked about this a bit, but if you just join us, this comes in under the Challenge 1 section, where you're meant to use these mineral patches as kind of blockers on the map, and to create the sorry, just answer a question on the other screen. It creates these mineral blockers, which then edit the way the map plays out as the course of the game. So yeah, it's kind of cool, kind of funky. We talked about it as well. This map is huge, so it would generally come under a macro category if you took away these little blockers and so on. Obviously, we saw sort of manning these out a little bit earlier to increase the speed of the attack through the center. We'll see if something like that happens a little bit later on in this game as well. And if we get a cool macro TVZ, we could really see maybe these minerals coming into play as well. Maybe if we're lucky, these ones too. It becomes a very interesting map as those minerals mine out, I think. As we'll get that. We'll see how things go for the moment. I like the setup, though. Reaper expand. We're looking like we're getting into a bit of a macro-focused game. No early game shenanigans, no early 12 pools or Nidus networks. Not just yet, at least. I mean, we're only 3 minutes in, so maybe I shouldn't get too far ahead of myself. But so far, the setup is to just go in towards drones, SCVs, build up them work accounts, build up into a mid-game, and go from there. aLive just keeping a couple of Hellions at home at the moment, just being a little bit cautious at the moment. Going to be seeing the SCV from aLive, pops out over from the natural, and is going to drop down a supply depot here towards the wall. Zergling from Solar just scouting around looking for some information. Is aLive going to go into a medevac? Having to continue to produce Marines is a very popular way of setting up in towards the Hellbat attack. Just because you get into that position where you have a few Marines to back up the Hellbat, so that extra bit of damage can be fun. What's interesting about this, he did cut Hellion production for a while, so he only has 4 Hellions at the moment, which isn't a lot for Hellbats. Solar starts up a Baneling Nest, so he will be set to defend against Hellbats. I mean, Banes go a long way towards forcing them to split, so splash damage can obviously be absolutely detrimental to any sort of Hellbat push. The Queen's just sitting on the front, and there's again a couple more Hellions on the way out. Reaper coming forwards. Well, again, only 4 Hellions for Hellbats at the moment. But the Baneling Nest isn't ready yet either, so some opportunity here perhaps for aLive as he pushes forwards. We're going to be seeing the Queens going to be able to obviously kite backwards, one of the big parts of defending these Hellbat attacks. Medevac here can do some healing though, of course. That one Hellbat that's low isn't prioritized in favor of prioritizing the Medevac instead. Pushes that back. Medevac able to come back in for a little while here. The Ling's being very cautious about when they decide to attack in. Mostly jumping on the Marines so they don't take too much Hellbat damage. is a good defense from Solar, but it's also done in such a way that it does cost him a few units, and I feel that aLive did enough with this. He's only 6 workers down. You know, Solar lost maybe a little less than 10. I actually thought he lost a little bit more than that, I'm not going to lie. So maybe Solar comes out of this with a slight advantage with double CC building. Oh my god, aLive going to mass expand here as he goes into mech upgrades, extra factories, and we're about to see some mech play here on Thunderbird. So, just going to be seeing the Viking coming over to the left-hand side. A few queens pressing forwards. And we are going to be seeing the extra command centers continuing to build up at the moment. Centrifugal hooks is building on the Baneland S, so getting that start as well. A couple of Evo chambers just coming up to completion also. Solar doesn't know that this is a mech-based follow-up just yet. At the moment, he's kind of just assuming that this is going to be bio, I think, because he hasn't seen anything to suggest otherwise. He's not seen extra Hellions running across the map to continue running by into mineral lines and so on. So I think for the moment, he's assuming bio, and that could bounce back to hurt him a little bit if he's not careful. Armory and engineering bay on the way up, so you can go into the double upgrades. And you can get the engineering bay as well to just get a couple of missile turrets in case of some sort of Mutalisk-based playstyle, which can be a little bit frustrating as a mech player until you get the first few 4s up. There we go, Ling's attacking some Roxy in the center. You still have these mineral patches in the middle as well, which you could open up as well, also to kind of create a bit of a faster attack across the map potentially. It's going to be seen as Zergling running around a bit as well, Viking up the right-hand side, and we are going to be seeing those Hellions still gathered together here from aLive. Alright, so, getting this set to go. As we see the Viking coming around the top side of the map, is going to be coming in and just picking away at these overlords. This is going to be the second overlord he finds so far, as the infestation pit on the way up now with the Hydras. I wonder if he plays a Swarm Host-based style or a Viper-based style. We saw for a while against mech kind of like the swarmy sort of Locust Linkbane Hydra just kind of jump and just have a load of burst damage to try and break through armies was very popular. But Vipers are always a popular choice against mech as well, of course. So that's something we could help out. Just going to be seeing the Vikings just coming down the right-hand side then, so they're pulling back. It's been pretty good to see those Hellions just picking up some creep chambers. This is nice as well, getting rid of some creep in the center, slows Solar down a little bit, even dropping the scan to get rid of a little bit more. Looks like somebody has been mining, looks like Solar was mining the middle of the map, so he has opened up this pathway a little bit here already. Obviously you have to be careful with those Hellions there though, you don't want to be running through that choke point. The Queen's will place the creep spread here, Hellions coming over to the left-hand side. Hive just over halfway done now from Solar as the Hellions do back off down to the bottom. A 4th command center up and in position from aLive as well. So that planetary fortress is up here. And again, those Hellions just running around left and right at the moment as we have the extra factories just continuing to finish. At this sort of stage of the game here where aLive is, well, just in a position where he's set up into his Cyclones, he's looking pretty good. He feels very comfortable. Solar's tech is just about to kick in terms of the Hive, so he's about to get to a point where he can start fighting this army a little bit more successfully. And so we've just got another minute or two where neither player probably really wants to fight. Obviously aLive would like to fight before Vipers, but there's not really much you can fight with, I feel, at the moment either, because he's only 150 supply, and that's what the Linkbane Hydra does. It's a very good mechanism and set of units to be able to move through into the, in towards kind of the next stage of the game almost, I guess. Because it just has a lot of units there, and because of the creep, it makes it very difficult to attack into, so you can kind of get up into the Vipers without being under too much pressure. Hellions and Cyclones are going to move forwards. There's been minerals mined on a whole bunch of these sides now, so this pathway is opening up. Solar's been mining out over here as well to open up this pathway into this base, which is otherwise blocked off. Obviously, you could maybe drop into here as the Linkbane Hydra. I mean, there you go. You just see it in action already. It's so good at just saying, well, no, don't come through the middle of the map. I've got a few units here, and I just don't want to be attacked right now, so please get away from me. You see Hellions and Cyclones still pressing into the middle. Extra Banelings morphing in as Hellions diving. There's a mineral line. 6 workers down, 8 workers down. I mean, you can see Solar's got Spine Crawlers set up in the defense here. So he's got Spine set up to defend, as you see Cyclones able to pick up a few more Banes. Continue to press forwards, more Crypt Chambers going down. So a little bit more creep being cleaned out as we see the Lings and Hydras from Solar continue to run in over on the right-hand side. Wants to jump on top of this Hylian Cyclone army. I mean, pulling back towards the Planning Fortress is a good point of defensive forces. Man, I mean, those Blue Flame Hellions do a lot, though. If they can just connect on the Hydras just a little bit, they do so much damage because those Hydras are light units. Let's see, Solo actually gets up to the high ground here. Obviously, this fourth base is low ground, so there is kind of this issue of getting back up the ramp almost to go and defend this position. Though Hellions and tanks coming out should be enough. Now the question is they're enough to defend on the low ground, because we do see the Vipers coming in with abducts, and so we do now have the Cyclones actually dying off. They can't just kite away and just survive forever. The Liberator coming out, a couple of them here, but they're not quite in position, as aLive just losing out units on this low ground. So much going down. SCVs being cleaned out. And we do see those Liberators continuing to pick off Hydras. 30 SCVs going down. This attack on the high ground got so much done. And aLive knows that is over. GG's as Solar picks up game number this and see what happens. Ooh, I think I like it. All right, let's do this. As we finally get to see another new map here today. We have to the top left-hand side our red Zerg player. This is Solar, who ended up taking that first map. As at the bottom right, our blue Terran is aLive. Thank you very much to Marsbar coming in for that Twitch Prime sub. I'm assuming, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume you're the same Marsbar I met at LAN. So cool to meet you, dude. And thank you so much for the Twitch Prime. Appreciate it. As we have aLive bottom right, and he's going to throw down some racks. Such a large map as well. I mean, Proxy Raxon is very powerful on these newer maps because you don't necessarily know where to see the overlords. Alright, well, as Proxy Racks come down, it's going to be free racks as well. I mean, it's a competition, guys. Money on the line. And players will do what they got to do as we get this set up. So hatchery down on the low ground. And let's just have a little bit of a look to see what's going on here. So the main base, pretty regular. Has a base down in front of it, which means if you take this base, you can kind of stop attacks up into your main or drop play, which is going to become quite potent, I think, because I think like in Terran matchups, you know, sieging up this area and attacking up to the high ground would be pretty interesting, right? Natural hatch comes down here, and the natural's pretty set back with a fairly narrow entrance. Third base on the same high ground as the natural, and it's pretty close to the natural too as third bases go, so you can understand the kind of macro focus on this game, definitely looking to try and bring, you know, bases close together and so on. Long rush distance with the Overlord though, so it's a very long time until Solar can see what's up, and he's got an Overlord right at the front, which might mean some trouble as a Marine coming forwards could jump on that right away. He's going to bunker up, but Overlord is such a huge priority because by killing the Overlord, the potential for a supply block is pretty high. So that's something to watch out for, but it's actually going to be able to get back up into the high ground. So Solar going straight into Rotoron as a way to deal with this. One of the things about roaches that you'll have to remember on this map is that the rush distance looks pretty large at a glance. Obviously, we'll have to double check that as it goes down, but from a larger rush distance, it means that counterattacking with the roaches isn't necessarily going to get as much done. It maybe buys some more time for the Terran player to be able to get a few more units out. As we are going to be seeing those Marines pulling back there. Oh, have they dove a little bit too far up onto the high ground? Well, he is going to get a good few drone kills for this. That is something. I mean, that's 4 drones down, 5, 6. Maybe this isn't too much at all. He gets 7 drones and Marines survive to get back to the low ground. That's actually really nice, although he loses 2 because they have to come down the ramp and the Queens can fire with the Lings on 3. 7 drones is painful though, because suddenly you're down at 11 workers as Solar, and you don't really have enough to push that too much further at all. So that's a little bit rough right here as these Marines in the bunker continue to work their way through this hatchery. So hatchery taking some damage. Marines just hanging out in the back. A Ravager going to start morphing in. And we are going to be having this hatchery probably going to fall. It is very regular to see a hatchery dropping when you choose to build roaches. Because it's triple barracks, you can get away with losing the hatchery as well, because the follow-up and, you know, the transition of the Terran is much slower to get going because you don't have double gas as early, so your factory's a bit later, etc. Marines should be able to run away from roaches, though, apart from if they take a couple of corners. It's actually enough Marines to turn and fight, and that's a dead roach. Stops the corrosive ban, loses another roach. Oh my god, well, Solar losing all counterattack potential here, as he's going to lose so much. 3 roaches and the Queen. Make that 4 roaches, probably, maybe even the Ravager. Because this roach goes down as well. Oh my god, Solar's just lost everything to the point where it's just GG. aLive takes the second game and gets himself a point on the